It was supposed to be just another quiet afternoon at Mary's diner, the kind where the smell of fresh coffee and warm apple pie fills the air, and the jukebox hums an old tune in the background. The sunlight slanted softly through the blinds, catching in the steam rising from a cup of cocoa. But peace, as it often happens in stories like this, doesn't last long. Because that afternoon, in the far booth by the window, a young girl in a wheelchair would learn how cruel the world could be, and how unexpectedly beautiful it could become. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, in standing up for others, and in the power of second chances, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and share it. Because stories like this remind us what humanity can still be. Her name was Emily Carter, a college freshman who had been paralyzed from the waist down after a car accident the previous year. But she refused to let her wheelchair define her. Every Friday, she rolled down to Mary's diner to treat herself to a milkshake and a few pages of her favorite mystery novel. It was her little ritual, a promise to herself that life could still be sweet. That day, the diner was unusually loud. A group of 6 teenage boys had taken over the booth next to hers. Loud laughter, greasy fries, and the smell of cheap cologne filled the air. They looked like the kind of boys who thrived on attention, the kind who were loud because silence scared them. Emily tried to ignore them, focusing on her book. But soon she felt their stares. Whispering started. Then snickers. And then, the taunts. One of them made a cruel joke about special seating. Another mimicked the way she moved her wheelchair. Emily bit her lip and tried to hold back tears. But when she tried to leave, one of the boys stepped in front of her. "Where do you think you're rolling off to?" he said with a smirk. Before she could respond, another reached out, and slapped her gently across the face, mocking her. The entire diner froze. A few gasps, a few murmurs, but no one stood up. The waitress behind the counter looked terrified. Emily's eyes filled with tears, her hands trembling as she tried to back away. The boys laughed, snapping pictures, enjoying their little moment of cruelty. When they finally left, the diner felt hollow. The laughter they left behind seemed to echo with ugliness. Emily stayed frozen, staring at her shaking hands. She couldn't understand how people could be so heartless, how no one had said a word. She left soon after, her milkshake untouched, tears blurring the road ahead as she wheeled herself home. An hour later, the sound of engines filled the parking lot. Not 1 or 2, but 5. Deep, rumbling, powerful. Heads turned as 5 bikers stepped inside the diner. Their heavy boots echoed against the tiles, leather jackets glinting under the fluorescent lights. Each had a look that made the room go silent. They weren't there for pie or coffee. They were looking for someone. The leader, a tall, broad man with a shaved head and gray in his beard, scanned the diner slowly. His eyes landed on the waitress, who looked frightened but also relieved. She swallowed hard and told them quietly what had happened, about the boys, the girl, the slap. The biker's jaw tightened. He turned to his men, and they all nodded. They didn't raise their voices. They didn't make a scene. But their presence alone sent chills down every spine in that diner. Outside, as fate would have it, those same boys had returned, laughing and recording videos by the parking lot. The bikers walked straight toward them. No words at first, just the sound of heavy boots crunching gravel. When the leader finally spoke, his voice was low but sharp enough to cut through steel. He told them that real strength isn't about hurting someone weaker than you, it's about protecting them. He said they'd all been young once too, stupid, reckless, full of anger. But somewhere along the road, they learned what it means to have a code. One of the bikers stepped closer and said quietly, "You ever touch someone like that again, and you'll answer to all of us." There was no violence, no shouting, just a quiet authority that froze the boys in place. One by one, their smirks vanished. They mumbled apologies and drove off, their laughter replaced by the distant rumble of retreating tires. But the story didn't end there. The next day, the same group of bikers appeared at Emily's home. She recognized them from the patches on their jackets when they gently knocked on her door. They introduced themselves as the Iron Saints, a local motorcycle club known for community service and veteran support. The leader, whose name was Jack, told her they'd heard what happened and wanted to make it right. They handed her a bouquet of flowers and a card signed by everyone at the diner who had stayed silent that day, all of them apologizing for not standing up for her. Over the next few weeks, Jack and his crew began visiting the diner regularly. Every Friday, at the same booth Emily used to sit in, one of them would wait. They never said much, just made sure everyone felt safe. And slowly, something changed in that small town. People began standing up more, for others, for what was right. The teenagers eventually came back too, not to cause trouble, but to apologize. Emily accepted their apology, though her eyes still carried the memory of that day. "We all make mistakes," she said softly. "But what matters is what you do after." Months passed, and Mary's Diner became a local symbol of kindness. They even set up a small plaque on the wall that read, "Stand up for the ones who can't stand on their own." Every person who read it knew exactly what it meant. Emily went on to finish her degree in social work. She often said that day taught her something she would never forget, that kindness, once sparked, can spread like fire. So if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of standing up, of defending what's right, of choosing empathy over silence, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to help spread more stories that restore faith in humanity. Before you go, comment below, what would you have done if you were in that diner that day? Would you have stood up? Because sometimes, one act of courage, one voice, can change everything. And for Emily, it did. The world will always have its bullies. But it will also always have its protectors.